5 board members are present. At this time, we're gonna pause for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance being led by Mrs. Margaret Bratcher.
Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And the pledge? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item on the agenda for this evening is public comment. Dr. Anthony?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Peterson, board members. Madam Chair, we have one person tonight for public comment. On behalf of the members of the board, I would like to welcome you to the Person County Board of Education meeting. Your presence is welcomed and encouraged by the board. We invite comments during public comment section of the board meeting. This time is set aside for the board to hear comments on programs, policies, and procedures. The board typically will not respond to nor take any immediate action on the concerns expressed, but please be assured that we will take all comments under appropriate advisement. Today, there is one individual who would like to speak to the Board of Education. Ms. Julie Nye is here and present. In order to conduct the meeting in an orderly and efficient manner, each speaker will receive 3 minutes to present comments. However, the public comment session of the public hearing will not exceed 30 minutes total, except for the majority vote by the board. Likewise, the chairwoman will invite speakers to the podium in order which they are registered. Substitute speakers will not be permitted, and speakers may not donate any portion of their time to another speaker. If a speaker is unable to present all of his or her information within the specified time limit, the speaker may provide the board with additional information in written form. If an unusually large number of people request to speak, a majority of the board may decide to reduce the time for each individual or require the designation of a spokesperson for each group of persons supporting or opposing the same positions. Public comments must be issue-oriented. Complaints against any employee will not be heard in the public session. I attest, Madam Chairwoman, the speaker tonight understands and agreed to the guidelines.
Thank you. Ms. Nye? Good afternoon, how you doing?
Good evening. You'd think I would not be nervous doing this anymore.
Not nervous at all.
Hey, I'm Julie Nye. I'm a member of Person County Public Schools Strong. I live in the southern part of the county, and I do not have any children in the public schools or in any other schools. I had a couple of things that I wanted to just reach out to the board about today. My fellow members of Down Home and Public School Strong are really concerned about the horrible ICE raids that we see happening in Durham and Raleigh. And we know that the Durham County Public Schools and Wake County Schools have done a lot of organization to get the community members to stand out and be allies at school pickup and drop-off times in case there are immigration enforcement folks around. And we just wanted to reach out to the schools and offer our assistance if you think there is any need. I know, living in the southern part of the county, I know that we have had some enforcement raids, not at schools in Durham County, but at the Lowe's in northern Durham, right near Durham Regional Hospital. So doesn't feel that far away. So we have a lot of members that are concerned and really would like to offer protection or assistance. So please reach out to us if that's something you think there's any need for. I also was recently made aware of the policy that Superintendent Green sent out, or not a policy, I guess a guideline, in January 2025 that urged, talking about state and federal legal requirements pertaining to immigrant students and families. And it encouraged all public schools to revisit and update their safety policies as necessary, including those that address interactions with law enforcement, or develop such processes if they don't already have them. I noticed that today's agenda, you're reviewing a lot of policy updates. I didn't see one that pertained to law enforcement. And if it's true that there is no explicit policy or procedure about that, I would encourage you to develop something like that, because I hope we never need it, but these are scary times. The last thing that I wanted to mention is we are also hearing about some pretty important school supply or instructional supply shortages in some of the schools. Some of our members are reaching out to individual schools directly to see where we can help. But I was also wondering if there was a central list that the district maintains of particular instructional supply needs or what's most important. I mean, I know every school probably needs everything, but if there were particular areas of need, please ask, and we will try to mobilize our members to do something like that. And the last thing I wanted to say was, I don't believe that the district has a 501c3 that can accept donations for things other than scholarships. If that's true, I know the individual school PTSAs can do that, but if you had something like that, I remember when you were reviewing the school fees for this year, I remember thinking when I saw, oh, there's fees to take the AP tests and there's lots of individual fees, I would be thrilled to sponsor a couple of students to something like that. So I would urge you to consider doing something so that we could make centralized donations for other purposes. Thanks.
I want to thank you for coming this evening and addressing your concerns. One of the concerns, I think Dr. Peterson is going to be able to answer that for us.
Yes, ma'am. In January, we're gonna respond to the immigration side. And I don't think we can, I'm looking at Julie, I don't think we can create a 501.
We cannot.
Yeah, so that's not an option for schools, but individual schools and parent groups can. So I would encourage you, especially if you're thinking about AP and that kind of thing, reach out to early college or to the public or high school, and they can assist you in that. They'll take all the money that you want to give them.
Is the no 501c3 specific to Person County? Because I know
No,
that
that's-
Durham Public Schools has a foundation that
They
does
have
a lot of that.
it's an education foundation that they run through, yeah.
But somebody told me that's only for scholarships.
That would be a conversation you need to have with Person County Education Foundation.
Okay.
And usually it's a sponsorship, so if you want to sponsor for a specific thing, I'm sure they may encourage you to do something with that.
Okay.
In terms of immigration, a lot of conversation around it. Sheriff Wilburn and I actually went to the local Catholic church as guests back in, I don't know, I guess it was January, early January, and spoke to the Hispanic population at that particular church. All of our we do have a policy. And the policy for law enforcement in our district doesn't change no matter whether it's federal, whether it's local sheriff, and we emphasize that at the meeting. And what our policy is that we treat law enforcement just like we treat any other visitor. If they don't have a reason to be there, they don't just walk in. If they have a warrant or if they need to speak with someone, or if it's a subpoena base, we take that information, we work through our attorney to verify that that's appropriate. But what we try to do is, and I think we have a really good relationship with our local law enforcement, is we try not to have any kind of law enforcement operation happening inside of the school unless it's deemed as a safety issue. So in terms of, I would just address ICE, like if they showed up at the school with a warrant or a subpoena to speak to someone, then we would have to verify that before we would allow anybody to come into our school. So our schools are, for the most part, locked down.
Safest place to be.
So, and there's an extension. Somebody asked me about bus stops this week. Bus stops are considered a public school part 2, but just know that the federal sensitive location policy did end, and so there was some sensitivity zones, and that ended in January. But we would treat any kind of law enforcement activity in the school the way I prescribe. If they got to have a reason to be there, and if their reason there is subpoena or to talk to someone, then we would have to verify to make sure that is appropriate.
We know there aren't subpoenas or
Yeah, so
warrants for what's happening.
that's how we address any law enforcement activity on campus.
Just curious, has attendance been dropping?
Ms. Reagan, you
Recently.
want to give feedback on that? Is that okay?
It's
So,
fine.
yeah.
Yep.
So, I have that right here.
Oh, okay.
So, we compared the last 3 days' attendance to 3 days last week, just to have a comparison. So we had, approximately 44 more absences per day this week than we had per day last week. So we are seeing an impact, so that's about 120 more absences for the 3 days this week compared to 3 days last week. So we are seeing some impact from that. We have had some families reach out and say, we're not gonna send our children right now. We are encouraging families to send their children because, and we've explained to them, we still have to report attendance. And we don't want that to generate truancy issues, which then, brings more attention to it. So we've talked with our support staff about being supportive, being compassionate, being a safe space, and trying to do all we can to support families and encourage them to bring their children and that they'll be safe while they're with
I
us.
think a lot of the fear on parents' part is when the kid gets out of the car before they get to the school door. Are you able to share those numbers?
Yeah, we can provide it.
I'll check with
It's
them.
public record.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we need approval of the minutes from our meeting on October 23rd. Were there any noted corrections? Hearing none, it's time to entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve the minutes of October 23rd.
Is there a second?
So moved.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, hearing none, the minutes of October 23rd are approved. At this time, Dr. Peterson, are there any adjustments to the agenda this evening?
Yes, ma'am. In a previous RFQ, you approved for us to go into contract terms with DTW Architects. We feel that contract is ready to come before you today. You have a copy of it at your desk. And if it's appropriate for the board, if we can add it as 6A4 for approval tonight.
At this time, entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda with the adjustment of 6A4.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, hearing none, the agenda for tonight is approved. All right, next thing we're proud of is pride in person.
All righty, this is the fun part.
It is.
Leadership. You have to be quick, nimble, put any adjective that you want on it, but you have to be able to adjust on the go. Effective leadership, I should say, you have to do that. This past summer, we had an opening that came available as a principal at Southern Middle School. And we've had a couple of people that really stepped up to the challenge and brought forth what I consider strong leadership. And not only to support the students at Southern Middle School, but to make sure that first day went off without a hitch, that we had our PD available as if nothing were to happen. And I can't thank these individuals enough about what they've done to make sure that we had a seamless transition at Southern Middle School. So tonight, our pride in person, one of the folks are here tonight, and we want to recognize Miss Jessica Moss for stepping up when she really didn't have to, but she did. And we honor her tonight for her leadership efforts in that domain, but more importantly for her family, because if you hadn't noticed, she's got a small child and that runs the roost is what I've been told. And to Hunter, her wonderful spouse, that, you know, as a school principal and assistant principal, a lot of things at home tend to take a back seat. And it truly takes a family to measure successful leadership. And Jessica and her family have really stepped up in this domain. And so we wanted to give honor to her and appreciation just by recognizing her as this month's pride in person.
In the middle. Thank you.
Continue to do.
continue proceeding on, so superintendent reports, Dr. Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First item we have for you this evening are policies for first reading. If you look at the abstract, these policies start with 1310 and then go through 7910. Policy Committee has met and reviewed policy and the proposed changes. You have a chart in your packet that identifies said changes. And again, this is information item without any questions or comment, or if you got feedback on any policies, these will sit for 30 days and they'll come back to your December meeting for possible approval. The other item is policies for approval. So there were 5 policies that we felt like we needed to approve on first read. I think a lot of it is simple changes, whether it was a notation change or whether or not it was a law change based on current law. And so those are policies 2302, 4130, 4150, 4152, and 7425. And at this time, I would recommend the board approve the policies as presented, unless there's further discussion.
Any questions, concerns about those policies? At this time, entertain a motion for approval of these policies as presented for approval.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those by the same sign here, these policies are approved.
Thank you for that. The next one is, we have put out an RFQ to help with planning for PCS 30. That's hard to say. We've been talking about 26 forever, but now we're talking about 30. So what we did, we put out a request. There could be a possibility of $9 million tied to this because it may be coincided with the third tranche of debt, however you want to say it. And I would say that out of all the RFQs that we've done, I really was honored to see the people that have submitted for this one. I thought all of the companies that offered their response to our qualifications were outstanding companies. I think one of the things that leaded us to Performance Services is their partnership with UNC, and they're getting ready to do a project with UNC at North Elementary School. And part of the overall planning that they will be doing is looking at our current middle school structures, and we have been discussing with the county commissioners about a new middle school, and so they'll be looking at the 2 schools to determine what it would take if we need to transition those to elementary schools, what it would take if we need to, if something happens and we're not able to build a middle school, and we may need to combine to get to the 2 middle schools in order to get enough seats for the upcoming population that's been talked about for a while. And then they're also doing the facility questionnaire that's required by the state, and they're doing that for free. And so I would recommend that the board accept their RFQ and then work with attorneys to, if there's any fee related to the planning that they were doing, that we would bring back a contract for planning fees.
Any questions for Dr. Peterson concerning the RFQ? This is for the contract. Any questions?
And we had 5 respondees
Okay.
to this request.
All right, hearing none, at this time, entertain a motion for the approval of the RFQ, the contract as presented.
Move to approve RFQ as presented.
Is there a second?
So moved.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those by the same sign, hearing none, that RFQ is approved.
The item that you added is for DTW, which was also one of the respondents. It's for, I think we're ready for the contract. For this, they will be doing all of the work for the second tranche of debt that we have. I think the total is 9.9 million roughly. It's 9,905,000. We were told today that the Exhibit C is rejected by the county. And so, which is the dates. What they're telling us is that we need to have all of the bids before they can go to LGC. And they're asking for that to be completed by April. I think Mr. Phillips has reached out to Mr. Young, who's the principal owner of DTW, to make sure that they understand that that would have to be a change. Just know that that's going to be something that would need to be changed in order for us to be ready for LGC approval. And they're wanting, I believe, in February. They're wanting, well, no, we got the scope of work ready for them in February, but in order to do a sale in June, we would need for you to approve all of the bids in May for them to then take upstairs in June for the work to be able to start in August. So I think that's a hiccup. I think that's something that we can do. We can work with DTW to make sure that we can meet that timeline. But the other thing that we provided you was the work and the amount of money going to be spent at the various schools. I'll just do a quick overview. Helena, we're looking at a $2 million improvement infrastructure there, mainly for the road, but also not only for the security, but also the replace the existing fire alarm that's there. Oak Lane Elementary, you have done a lot of work there. You've approved a lot of work there, so this is finishing up the work that we need to do at $550,000, which is a couple of sidewalks and some doors that we need to deal with, as well as the safety features that we're going to approve for our schools. South Elementary, if you could picture south, and if you look to the left, that front hallway that juts out in front of the school, that will become a 3 classroom rather than a 6, because there needs to be a hallway there that keeps them inside of the building rather than having to exit to get back into the building. That's a major item for improvement, along with the vestibules and the hardware. And we are also, part of that money would hopefully be redoing the front queuing. We're not asking for a turning lane, but what we would do is ask for them to redesign how the queue would be done at South Elementary School, which may impede a little bit on our early intervention campus where I call it the lower parking lot there. There may be some jut outs that we would have to use there, but maybe we can do a combination where everything can be linked as one. Storys Creek is the big one that you have. And I think that's where a lot of the work that DTW has gone into, and I appreciate the magnitude of the work that they've done up front to ensure that they can give us adequate price of what it would take. That would be the 4 classroom addition there at Storys Creek to handle some of the growth that we're seeing. And also we got to replace the fire alarm and a voice communication system. Now that we're adding classroom space there, we got to upgrade those 2 implements for the school. So that's, again, those are just highlights of the things that we're doing. And without any questions, I recommend that the board approve the contract for that's hard to say, DTW Architects and Planners.
And I guess, and this would be subject to revising
Yes.
Exhibit C.
The Exhibit C, that's correct.
So these bids that you said to be in by May?
Sorry. The bids will need to be in front of you in May
Okay.
for the county to approve them to send to LGC. What the local government commission wants, if they're going to them for $9.9 million, they want to see $9.9 million worth of bids rather than it being giving you the money up front. If not, it would be mini. And they don't do mini construction bonds. I mean, they're not going to give you a bond for $500,000. So yeah, it would have to come to you in May to send upstairs.
Why were the current dates so far? Like, it looks like one is all the way in September.
I think I'm not going to speak for Mr. Young, but I'll interpret it. I think what he's looking is layering the work And when you layer the work, you don't want to do bidding out too far out because it can change. And I think we've learned that with
Right.
our high school.
Okay,
And so I'm sure that's what that's all about.
and also I asked you again about the.
Yeah, his priority right now would be the Stories Creek, and I'm sure what I looked at when I saw the exhibit was that okay, he's going to start this, and then he'll start that, then he'll start. I mean, all of them will be working simultaneously, but you know, again, you don't want a 1.5-year bid sitting out there, and I think that's what the concern would be.
No, well, that was my question too, because I saw you September date. so
Yeah, now we're jumping up, yeah,
Mhm.
real far.
Okay.
I mean, it's a big commitment.
It is. Any other questions or discussions concerning the DTW Architects contract? This time, move for approval.
Move to approve contract.
Subject to.
Subject to
Subject to-
Exhibit C.
That's what it said, LDC, yes.
Yeah, and then, yeah, revising exhibit C.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed? Hearing none by majority vote, this contract is approved. All right, human resources. Ms. Stacy, it's hard to think, it's this time of the year already.
It
I
is,
know.
it is. Good evening.
Talk about 26, 27.
I know.
Yes. What I'm bringing before you tonight is to share with you all the process and timelines for developing the 26-27 school calendar, including creation of 3 calendar models and plan for staff, family, and stakeholder feedback prior to final board approval. And so, before meeting with different groups and sending that out for a survey, been charged with developing 3 different calendars. Calendar A in the it's model based on the proposed Senate Bill 754, and I don't know if that's still out there,
It's
still
still
alive. This is one of the longest that a calendar change has gone since I've been doing calendar, so I am a little bit hopeful. But this particular proposed bill is stating that it moves the start date from the Monday closest to the 26th of August to the Monday closest to August 19th, and then having students out prior to Memorial Day. The clause that they do have in there is that the semesters have to be balanced, and so that calendar does align with that. Calendar B is a draft that is modeled after our current year, our 25-26 school year, and then finally calendar C is based on our current school calendar law, where it is can't start before the Monday closest to the 26th, and that makes it impossible to balance semesters, and so therefore your semester is ends in January versus in December there. So at this time, our next step is that we will get our employee groups that represent all staff, followed by distributing the calendars to parents and stakeholders for a survey, and to bring a final recommendation to you all in January for approval. I would also, my hope would be to dwindle down 3 drafts to and possibly just bringing you a final one to tweak in January, so, after meeting with the groups. So I will be glad to entertain any questions that you may have.
Just wanted to put a plug in again for election day if possible, if there's
Yes.
any flexibility. But the thing is, I mean, it hasn't been announced for 2026
That's right.
yet.
Okay.
But just again, I think we talked about like in 2024, potential safety issues with Peaceville and Helena both having nearby polling places. Then just, civic, education, so just putting that out there.
I have seen when looking at different district, I've actually seen, I don't know if this follows law or not, but some districts do a remote day on those days to
A lot of that's because those schools are polling places.
Gotcha, okay, so
Yeah.
they're allowed to do that,
Yeah.
okay. But yes, so noted. And just a reminder that, not part of calendar law, however, teacher contract, is for 215 days, so whatever the first day the teachers report to the end date it adds up to be 215 Monday through Fridays, I guess, if that makes sense, so, right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, accountability. Ms. Holmes, good evening, how you doing?
Good evening. Yes, I am here to give you an EVAS summary. So last month, I presented to you our curriculum vision for the school year. And since then, EVAS has released the teacher effectiveness data. And so I wanted to just kind of go over the information with you this evening and share some highlights of how that how that aligns with our vision for the year. But first, just as a refresher, if anybody, or for anyone that may not be aware, EVAS is, it measures how much students grow academically compared to similar students across the state from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. It's not a measurement of how smart students are, and in that same token, it's not a measurement of how hard our teachers are working or how dedicated they are. It simply is just looking at where students start at the beginning of the year and where they end at the end, and in growth terms. So looking here is the district-wide data. In the top, in the blue rows is Person County Schools, is what we're comparing. And the first column is the percent of teachers who met or exceeded growth expectations for the year. And that second column is the percent of teachers who did not meet or exceed growth. And then in the gray is the comparison to the state. So you can see here, as we look at it, 85% of our teachers met or exceeded growth, and 15% did not. And so when we compare that to our state, it is very close to the state average. Where 87% were meeting growth and 13% did not meet growth. And so then we unpacked it and broke it up by elementary, middle, and high. And you can see in elementary, this is definitely one of our major strengths. 96% of our in grades 3 through 5 tested subjects met or exceeded growth, and compared to the state average, 91%. And then if you look a little bit further down, just wanted to highlight the reading. 100% of our 3-5 reading met or exceeded growth in Person County, and so that we're very excited about that. And then on top of that, 100% of 5th grade science teachers met or exceeded growth, and so we're above the state average there. And so what this really means is nearly every student in grades 2 through 5 made the amount of progress that was expected for the year. And so this definitely was a significant accomplishment. We were proud of that. Looking on to middle school, the results showed the need for some more intentional support. 81% of the teachers met or exceeded growth. And with math, 81% was compared to the state slightly above the state, and then on reading, 80% of teachers, which is slightly below the state average, and science is at 83%, so which was above. And so what this tells us is, while we do have many students that are growing, there is still a need to show some more growth in our middle school, and when they're compared to their peers statewide. And then bringing us down to our high school, this is where we see the greatest need for improvement. We do see that 44% of high school teachers for Person County met or exceeded growth, and when compared to the state average of 80%, we do see opportunities there. And so we do have it listed down. If you can see it broken down by Math 1, Math 3, English 2, and Biology, which all were significantly below that state average. And so again, I just want to reiterate, these results don't mean that our teachers are not working hard. This is a signal for some core instructional changes, and a curriculum alignment and some expectations, more focused expectations. And so if we keep scrolling down, this next page, we dug a little bit further. So that was last year, and so we looked at the 3-year trends. So this is over 3 years. This is just Person County. So you can see in the gray, the gray is now the previous 2 years of how the number of teachers that met or exceeded growth, and then the blue is for this past year. And so again, looking at elementary, it follows very strong, very stable, strong reading. If you look at reading, actually the last 2 years, 100% of 3-5 teachers met or exceeded growth. Math has come up from 88 to 88%, and science is back up to 100% as well. Looking at middle school, there's a little bit of inconsistencies that we saw there. Reading dropped a little bit. Math dipped and then came back. So we see some fluctuation. And so really what this is telling us is just needing more consistency, more focused consistencies in the middle schools. And then lastly, looking at the high school, we do see a trend in the decline. It's declined from 79% and then now at 44%. And then, we look at all subject areas, we do see a consistent, that downward trend. And so again, just confirming that, this has been building over time and just, reinforces the need for some targeted support.
Ms. Holmes, on the math, is that a typo or do we leave out grade 3? It says math grades 4, 5.
We don't have growth in 3rd grade math because there's no comparison.
Okay,
Yes.
gotcha,
So
You gotta have 2 years worth of data.
gotcha.
yes, and because we have M class in the lower grades,
Right.
they're able to give us a reading
The
score.
reading score, okay.
A lot of work to do.
Yep.
What do you think, are some things could be factoring into the change in biology, looking at like from 2023 to 24, you're going from 100 to 33, and then, 25 isn't great, but it's similar to the year before. That seems like that's more than just like a change in a teacher or something. Like, is it the number of kids, or the test being renormed, or,
So one thing that we need to keep in mind, so when we're looking at EVAS, even when we're talking about like changing kids or renorming, so it's compared against the peers across the state. So just sticking with biology, with the test being renormed, so because they're being compared with the peers across the state, everybody took the test. It was renormed for everybody. And they're compared against peers across their state within similar areas. So if they're considered a low achieving or your middle achieving students or high achieving students, they're compared against like a high achieving student will be grouped and compared against high achieving students across the state. But interesting that you asked that question. So Monday I went to Person's school improvement team meeting and shared specifically Person's EVAS information and asked that same question, just asking for some feedback. Is it curriculum alignment? Is it, PLCs? Is it planning? And one of the pieces of feedback I got was, virtual learning did begin, but what I told them was just to be careful. When we say virtual learning, it's not that it's the virtual learning that's not having the impact. I would question the environmental factors. The students that are in the classroom on virtual learning, is there engagement? What does engagement look like? What accountability is in place? Because we are seeing success and growth in our virtual academy. So I just, I do think, I think the virtual instruction at Person is playing a factor, but I think there's potential. I think there's pieces that need to be in place to make it more effective.
I think we just need to do a better job of teaching and learning. Let's just leave it at that. And I'm going to have a meeting with the staff over there at their next staff meeting. We're going to do some things and some activities with them. I think we need to eliminate excuses and start doing what we need to be doing. And I had that conversation with the administration yesterday. That would be my summary of what we see in the high school.
Yep.
We want to thank you for this information because this is what we asked you to bring back to us, so thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. If you will remember back in the October meeting, I brought to you our principals brought to you a presentation for their school improvement plans. And they've had an opportunity to take the feedback they heard from you and feedback that they've heard from their different stakeholders and the school improvement teams and make some adjustments. There were really no major adjustments that were made to action steps. I think a lot of the feedback that was received here that was consistent across was about their goals and the specific baselines and targets and where those are. And so in the folder that you have there, that report that is pulled from IndaStar does show pretty much all of our schools had that in the system last week. They just didn't pull that out specifically to bring to the presentation in October. But I've pulled that out for you so you see that those are there for all of their schools. The schools have done a really good job of developing some specific goals and then breaking those goals down into what are called performance measures, performance indicators, to really give these individual teams a more specific target to be working towards. So instead of a goal of 75% proficiency in math for the whole school, we're breaking that down. Okay, what do we need to get to at 3rd grade? What do we need to get to at 4th grade? What do we need to get to at 5th grade to meet that 75%? So that's there. And then the selected indicators that our schools are utilizing in their plan is down below that for each school. And I bring them to you tonight for approval.
And I want you to thank whoever did it, this format that it did from the last time we saw it too.
Yeah.
It was easier to
So
put additional information and how it was formatted was easier to.
Right.
IndaStar is a great tool for school improvement teams at the school level. It is not great for pulling pieces out to present, and it's not really, so it is, again, like I think I said last time, it has allowed our schools and our leadership to have some common language around school improvement planning with the indicators that are selected. It's allowed us as a district to say that, okay, as a district, we want everybody to focus on A401, which is MTSS, providing scaffolded support. But it makes it a little challenging to pull out some reports, but this is a good report. I would agree. Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was, give us much more information, detailed information what we needed, so thank you for doing that. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Are there any questions concerning the school improvement plans as presented? Opportunity to be done. All right, hearing none, this time entertain a motion for approval of the school improvement plans as presented.
Move to approve the school improvement plans as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those by the same sign, hearing none, those plans are approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, fine, yes.
Good
It's
evening.
always interesting, yes. Good evening, how you doing?
I'm good. I have gifts to give out tonight. It's our time to approve the supplemental funds for teacher compensation, which is state funding that provides an additional supplement to the local supplement for our teachers. Just as a reminder, as the general statute states, this is only for certified teachers and instructional support personnel, which is curriculum coaches, school counselors, media coordinators, social workers, school nurses, psychologists, classroom teachers, PE, art, music teachers, EC teachers. It is not, the state funds cannot be used for assistant principals or principals, central office employees, classified employees, or pre-K teachers. The funding amount this year that we received, and it went up a little bit, 1.3 million. And depending on the teaching staff, we take all those that are qualified and we divide it evenly. So this year, each certified person will receive $3,250. It's going to be paid in 2 installments, one in December and one in June, which is they'll receive $1,625. Staff that work from 20 to 29 hours will receive half of that, so $1,625 total, and I think that comes to what, $812.50 or something twice a year. Last year, the board did approve to take local funding to give the supplement to the 15 staff members that are at early intervention at Earl Bratcher. So if you would like to continue that same process this year, that would cost us $64,506 from the local budget to cover those 15 staff members. So
Any
We can have a
questions?
discussion about if this will
Discussion. Concerns?
We do not get budget for that this year.
Any concerns? Concerning the supplemental funds for teacher compensation? To also include the staff members and certified pre-K staff? None, I entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, hearing none, those funds are approved.
Thank you.
And thank you.
At this time, Madam Chairman, I recommend the board go into closed session to consult with our board's attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege to consider confidential personnel and student information.
This time, entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, we will go into. We have returned back into open session. Dr. Peterson, superintendent reports.
At this time, Madam Chairman, I recommend the board approve consent items E1, A, and B.
All right, at this time, entertain a motion for approval of consent items E1, A through B.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, hearing none, the consent items are approved. So what we want to do next, wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy Thanksgiving with some rest. We see you back in a few days. Thanks for all you do. Dr. Peterson, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank y'all.
This meeting's adjourned.
You gotta have a motion.
Oh, we need a motion.
No.
Oh, we motion consent item. All right, at this time, we entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, there's a second.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
We have no opposers, so this meeting is adjourned.